Before we start today's show, let me tell you about the Oxford Exxon and Blue Sky there on Highway 6 West in Oxford. Use the mobile rewards app, SpeedPass Plus app. Plenty of ways to save money at the pump there with Oxford Exxon, and you'll have several opportunities this week to get one of those stadium cups. You can do it at Swayze Field today at 4 o'clock. You can do it tomorrow at the Pavilion for the game against Tennessee, because when you buy the stadium cup, fill it up anytime you want at the Oxford Exxon for 49 cents. 49-cent refills there to quench your thirst with the Oxford Exxon. And coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio, 662-257-1900, Highway 25 South there in Amory. You know the deal by now. You know it well. Get a quote from Corey within 15 minutes during business hours. Take it. Do whatever you want with it. Come back to Corey. Tell him you want the car of your choice, the Ford of your choice there at Clark Ford. And then mention the podcast. An extra $500 off when you do that with Clark Ford. Now into the show.
From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something that you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio. This morning we're going to speak with Chris Dortch of Blue Ribbon Yearbook, one of the best basketball minds there is in the country. We'll get to him here in a little bit. Just a little word of warning: there's a couple dead spots in that interview, but nothing will throw you off. You'll get the majority of it. But just want to give you a heads up. There's nothing going on with your recording. There's nothing going on from our side. Chris was just hit a couple weak spots there with his cell service. So we get plenty from Chris talking about what Ole Miss needs to do, how Ole Miss needs to do it to beat Tennessee, and much, much more as we move forward. There's baseball today against UT Martin at 4 o'clock, and the first football spring practice begins today. Matt Luke will speak to the media around 11 a.m. this morning. We'll have coverage of that. And then there is
bigger, faster, stronger. Everybody's bigger, faster, and stronger. Been a great offseason. Excited to get out there.
Even if you could just get one coach in on the joke where they went, they just deadpanned it off the top and went, we had a really shitty offseason.
I love it.
No one showed up for workouts. Strength coach, he's fired.
Yeah. Kids have had terrible attitudes.
Yeah, McDonald's everywhere.
They don't eat right. We tell them to sleep. They don't.
I'm frankly very anxious about this spring practice.
Yes, I'm not excited. I'm anxious.
Yes, and I don't mean like most people do, where they misplace eager and anxious. I mean anxious. I'm quite nervous about this.
I'm worried sick. I'm going to tell you honestly, guys. We're closing practice because I don't want y'all to see how fat we've gotten.
Yeah. Yeah, Wisconsin always averages like 360 across the line, and it's a good thing. Not here. Not a good thing when we do it. So. Anyway, coverage of that, but in all seriousness, we'll have plenty from it. Look,
700 observations. Every problem has been solved since November. Look out, Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl.
Sugar Bowl.
Okay.
Orange, all the bowls.
All the bowls. So, I'm all over the place.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. The one thing, I got thinking about this. I mean, I'm kind of making this joke a little bit because he's not going to crash heads all spring. It's going to be so much installation because of Rich Rodriguez and Mike McIntyre. They've got to learn everything. And when I say everything, potentially even where to stand in formations on day one.
Keep this in mind. They've got a huge freshman class coming in. The guys who have to teach those guys this summer, because all jokes aside, you can't get out on the practice field with them as coaches. Now, they're going to practice all summer, but it's the older kids coaching the younger guys. So you've got to install this thing not only where they get it, but where they get it enough to help put the groundwork in for the installation that you do in August.
And with every team in America, even Alabama, if every system was overturning and everything was the same, you're going to have a loss of knowledge and a retention issue between the spring and the fall.
Yes.
So you've also got to teach it in a way that you at least minimize that retention issue when you get back in August. So you're not having to spend 3-4 days in August going, hey, we'll remember this. We were doing this. Yeah. So, I mean, this is classroom kind of stuff early in this this spring practice. I mean, as much as college football can ever be, it's kind of crawl before you walk right now when there's this much overhaul in systems. Defensively, you're switching to a 3-4, and then offensively, I mean, everything, verbiage. Rich Rodriguez coming in and throwing his stuff out, so it's completely different.
And if you have everybody getting hurt, you're losing on-field time. You're losing that opportunity. So a number of things. And I'm going to make this post on the message board in a minute because I think it's important going into coverage of camp. There's going to be limits as to how much access we get. I wrote about this in 10 Thoughts a little bit. And frankly, I'll tell you who told me. It's Matt Luke. Everyone being Memphis and Arkansas, the first two opponents of the season, they don't really know what's coming. Now, they're going to go study Colorado film.
And Arizona
film. And I'm sure they'll go back all the way to West Virginia film and Michigan film with Rodriguez.
Might even go back to Tulane and Clemson the last time he was actually a coordinator.
Well, they almost certainly will. And they'll do the same thing with McIntyre. They'll really study those defenses. They'll dig in deep on everything. But you won't know. You don't know what Ole Miss is going to do, and that is an advantage that Ole Miss has going into that first game as opposed to going up against Memphis where, there's a lot of stability inside that program.
Within reason, you could predict their first 5 plays.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much know what they're going to do. When you play Arkansas, you can look at Morris and go, hey, we can watch all of his SMU film and a year of Arkansas film, and within a certain degree of reasonableness, we know kind of what's coming.
Ole Miss ought to come out in the power eye against Memphis the first 3 plays just for the heck of it.
But to my point, and they should, it would be hilarious. But to my point, if you allow a ton of access and cameras and fans and stuff, you give that advantage away. I mean, I can go ahead and here's the sure-to-be accurate prediction of the spring. Ready?
Uh-huh.
The Grove Bowl offense and defense will look nothing, absolutely nothing like what you will see when Ole Miss plays at Memphis.
You're not even getting vanilla, are you?
I mean, if you told me they don't even put 11 on the field at one time, I'd buy it. If you told Matt Luke today, hey, you can have an absolute torrential downpour that cancels that game, he'd go, done. I get to make up that practice on Monday inside the Manning Center, done. He doesn't want to give that advantage away. That's an advantage that it will last 2 games. By the time they play Alabama, they will have played 3 or 4 games or whatnot. LSU, all those teams, they will have played games, and those teams will have broken everything down.
Yeah,
the computer people, everybody's got the computer nerds inside their building, and they're breaking things down, and you pretty much know what's coming. But Ole Miss has that advantage for 2 games. You don't want to give it away, and they won't. And that's why when people say, why don't you guys have more coverage? Well, we're not going to get to see much other than some calisthenics, some individual drills, maybe a little bit of instruction. I don't think they're going to let us see any installation. Now, they could let people like me and Chase watch installation because we wouldn't know what the hell we were watching. But there are people out there that do, and they're not going to give that away, and they shouldn't. But that's where it's coming from. When people say, well, are they going to be opened up for y'all to see scrimmages and stuff? I sincerely doubt it.
You don't think they'll give any scrimmage looks?
I wouldn't. I mean, honest. If I hate to be the guy that's like, hey, I don't want to limit. I want to limit access. I don't. But if I'm Matt Luke and I have this advantage going into this season, which is the first season that I'm postseason eligible, I'm not giving an advantage away. Because look, we're not going to go down this road right now because it's February the 20-something, and we've got a long time before the opening game. But if I told you that a bowl, whether it's the Birmingham Bowl or the Memphis Bowl or whatever, was dependent on beating Memphis and or Arkansas, you wouldn't go, oh, no, Neil, you're insane. If I tell you that Ole Miss loses those first 2 games, you would have a very difficult time painting a scenario where they got to 6.
The math becomes problematic at that point.
Yeah, real problematic. But if I give them a 2-0 start, you can get them to 6. If I get a 1-1 start, you can start trying to get them to 6. But if I give you an 0-2 start, you're going to have a real hard time getting to 6. So those are big games. He has an advantage in those games, and I don't look for him to give it away in March and April.
Yeah, and I looked at the schedule a second ago. There's nothing, at least on our preseason schedule, which is subject to change either way, of any full practices being open. Everything is portioned.
Yeah, I'm 90-something% confident that we are not going to see team drills this spring. They're just not going to give that away. Today, for a coverage, Luke has a press conference at 11 o'clock.
Yep.
And then the first 30 minutes of practice is open today. There are no media opportunities after.
Open to media. Open to media,
not to you guys. Media. Open to media.
Yeah.
So we'll get out there and watch some guys warm up. I will come back with 700 observations about every single person.
700?
At least.
Okay.
At least. Everyone's bigger, faster, stronger. Unbelievable. Great attitudes. And anyway, we'll talk to we're scheduled to talk to players and assistants later in the week. Yeah.
Thursday. Yeah. And they take spring break off too, by the way. While we're doing
and I find that to be a sign of softness. If you're really tough, you keep them here for spring and you practice.
It's a little bit of a weird spot for football coaches because it's, hey, we obviously are going to take that week off. Do we try to get everything in before? Do we wait till after? Do we split it up? Because you even have some retention issues on, hey, we're leaving for freaking 9 days here, and then trying to figure out what to do in the interim.
Probably an opportunity to practice retention. Get as much in as you can in the 2 weeks before spring break.
Mm-hmm.
Send them home for 11 days.
Come back and see how do we
come back, and now we got okay. Let's see how much they got.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll hate that. Okay.
Because it might help you as a coach figure out, okay, when we do this in August, did we do too much? Did we not do enough? How do we manage those first few days when all those freshmen are rolling in?
So that's kind of the overall arc of what's going on. From a player standpoint, there are players that the spring is important for.
Sure.
I think Matt Corral obviously leads the list for a multitude of reasons. Number one, it's his football team. How does he lead? How does he handle the spring to be ready to lead during the summer? When you talk about it, it's players in charge. And, how does he kind of prepare himself to be that guy that's sending the text message and gathering his troops and doing everything that he has to do to help out getting ready for the season? How does he keep a level head? He's a kid that is very, very fiery at times. Just a big spring for him. He's got to learn this quickly. He's got to get acclimated as fast as anyone. So it's going to be a test for him. Obviously, the offensive line is in complete kind of rebuild mode. What emerges from there on who can do what, where you put guys, where you don't put guys, because most likely they have a completely new left side of the offensive line for the season, so I don't know what that is going to look like. My guess is that you got Ben Brown and Alex Givens on the right side, and you know what that is, but everything else is in flux a little bit. And just stay healthy up there for all you do, because one injury on the offensive line and it changes the entire season, no matter who it is. It can be any offensive lineman that is going to get playing time. It will change your season if he sprains an ankle.
Yeah, it's one of when going into August, if someone says if you're painting a disaster scenario for Ole Miss, it starts there, I think. I think it's there. I think it's a couple of injuries on the offensive front. Having to dive into depth that you don't really have. Who's the center? Can Eli Johnson handle center? Can he stay healthy? He certainly has waited his opportunity. Could have left. He graduated. He could have been a grad transfer someplace. He could have gone, a Louisiana Tech or something and played. But he stayed, and he stayed for a number of reasons. But first and foremost, I think I hate to speak for him, but it was a chance here to play as a starter at the SEC level, which is what he's waited for. He's had, I guess, 2 knee injuries?
I believe that's correct.
So, they've got to make sure he can stay healthy. You've got to prepare someone behind him. You can't assume that he or anybody else is going to stay healthy. That depth up front, man, is a major concern for them, I would think, going into spring, going into the season. It's one of those questions that Matt will probably get this morning that he can't answer. Because if you answer it kind of honestly, you upset so many people with, do you have to be careful? The answer is yes. But the answer that they have to give is more of a, no, look, it's football. You know, we've got to be physical. We got to all that stuff, because that's kind of.
And I think his answer will be, hey, there's a balance there.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we have hit that balance.
But you're right. You can't install an offense if 3 of your starting offensive linemen are down. And then the other thing is, and I used to, this is where the game has changed even since I've been covering it. It used to be you really did make some hay in the spring, but now I think you make that hay in the summer. June, July, all the kids are there. They're there the whole summer. That's an intense time. It's a lot of team bonding time. You get guys in great shape. You get guys ready. You want guys healthy going into the summer. Because if a guy's wrecked the knee, he can't go through summer. He doesn't get bigger, stronger, faster. And so it's I always found spring to be fascinating in a lot of ways. We make fun of it. Most media can't stand covering it because you don't really know what you're writing. The games are still 5 months away. If the offense looks good, does that mean that the offense is good, or does that mean that the defense sucks? If the defense is great, does that mean that the defense is great, or does it mean that the offense is having a hard time learning the new offense? What does it mean? And the answer is you don't really know. So you end up just kind of writing feature stories and talking to people, and there's this overarching optimism that comes out of the spring. You read it out of every baseball camp right now, for example. Everybody's winning the World Series. Yeah. And so, you know, it
even the Marlins feel real good about things.
Yeah, right? And a lot of that stuff, I know you find this hard to believe, but there are fans out there who save these things, and when a season starts going down the tubes, they send it to you and go, but you said. And it's like, well, I didn't say it. They said it. I quoted them saying it. Yeah, but you said it.
You chose to print it.
Yeah,
I mean, you did do that. Now, look.
You published it.
You didn't have to put that quote in.
So I don't know. We'll see. I think I think it's an important spring for Matt Luke and stuff, but I'm on record here. I don't think anything outside of off the field scandal results in a coaching change. I've had people say, "What if they go 2-10?" Even 2-10. I don't think they're going 2-10. I think they're going to go better than 2-10. But even 2-10, as long as there's no scandal, I think Matt Luke and this staff gets at least another year. And if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. It won't be the first time. It'll be the second time.
The second part of that on kind of who else is important for just on a more individual or group level is it's 3-4. What does it look like? Who plays where? What do you do? How do you learn it? How do you kind of split it all up? Because they've got these guys that, you know, suddenly some of these nose guards are now defensive ends, at least on the 3-4 level. Yeah. You've got linebackers that are now these rush outside ends. So it's kind of a puzzle right there on figuring out who fits what little spot on that front 3-4. And frankly, there's some overhaul there too. So they got to figure out what they have in that 3-4. I mean, you know, all jokes aside, because it's not. It's two things. It's fair because, yeah, they have linebacker next to their name, but then it's also, well, there's some defensive ends that are moving out. It's not like whatever. But a program that has struggled with linebackers suddenly has to put one more LB on the field just from a straight position standpoint, although that's really defensive ends that are moving outside and becoming rush outside linebackers.
And one of the linebackers they'd love to put on the field today is not here yet.
That is very true.
Lakia Henry. So, a new linebacker coach, even though he's been here a lot. These kids don't know him. Last time he was here, that was 8 years ago in Tyrone Nix. So, man, time flies, doesn't it? It's been 8 years.
Has it been 8 since we've seen Tyrone?
It's been 8 years. He finished the 2011 season.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah, I guess.
He wasn't part of Hughes' staff.
No, because he brought Womack with him immediately.
Yeah. So it's been 8 years.
Yeah. It's been 8 years since Keith Burns stood up in the back of the room and talked about how Houston did this and that, and he was with him.
Campbell was in the 3rd or 4th grade then. Isn't that crazy?
Doesn't feel like that long ago.
I mean, she was just a little girl. Caroline was like in the 1st grade. Carson was probably still wearing pull-ups. Man, time flies. Don't even get me started. I'll get depressed.
We'll go to Chris in a second, and we'll start talking some basketball for the day. Before we do that, let me tell you about Blow Dry Bar Oxford, 662-638-3310, theblowdrybar@gmail.com, 1801 Jackson Avenue, Oxford. 10 to 6, Tuesday to Friday, Saturday 10 to 3. Ole Miss with baseball games. You got basketball games tomorrow as well. Plenty of time to come up, check it out, get the ever popular blowout, many other options as well for that special lady in your life, or if you're a lady listening, take care of yourself. Admission Rebel Grove in the process. They will give you a little discount. Incredible people. My wife has become quite obsessed with it, so you can get your fix there as well. On the 2018 best new business in Oxford. Again, Blow Dry Bar, 662-638-3310.
The podcast is also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB, they have a commercial checking account now paying 1% interest as long as you keep $10,000 in the account. It comes with fully interactive online banking. They can set up any local business to deposit checks from their office and not have to worry with coming to the bank daily to deposit those checks. More than likely, any business owner at another bank is now paying a monthly fee for their account, and they're most assuredly not making 1% on the money. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. Podcast also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX legacy realty agent. He's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market in Oxford better than Harry. Go to his site. He'll prove it to you. HarryAlexander.com. Click on the Properties and Neighborhoods tab. Filter through by what you are looking for, and then send him an email. It's ha@harryalexander.com. Also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, look no further than Grenada Nissan. They have a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Go in, test drive one today. Tell Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan on the podcast, and you'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. And we're brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. You know how this works. John's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. What you do is you call him, and you tell him what you're looking to do, whether it's go down to the Gulf, whether it's go on a cruise, Napa, Scotland to play golf with the guys, whatever it may be. Give him some parameters, give him a budget, and then sit back. Get off the internet and let him do it for you. He'll give you options that you would not find on your own. 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast.
Podcast is brought to you by Scripted Jewelry, scriptedjewelry.com. Head to the website, see all the ways they can make the next gift buying opportunity great for you, from sizing guides to lookbooks to frequently asked questions and more. They'll even tell you what was recently purchased on the site to give you ideas. The turnaround times are fantastic, and you can put that special message on a piece of jewelry for that special someone in your life. Again, scriptedjewelry.com. And when you check out Rebels10, REBELS10, to save 10%. Again, you can do whatever you need to do to personalize that sentimental memorial gift or other options with scriptedjewelry.com. Now let's go to Chris Dortch on the Patterson and Earhart hotline.
All right, Chris, welcome into the show. Really appreciate you taking some time. We've talked about Ole Miss a lot. So I'm going to start with Tennessee, because you've seen Tennessee a lot the last couple of seasons. You've kind of been ahead of the curve on predicting this Tennessee team to do what it's done. What have you seen from Tennessee the last couple of weeks? How vulnerable, if at all, are they heading into Oxford tomorrow night?
Well, Neil, they definitely they lost to Kentucky and, pretty handily. And I don't think Kentucky was playing so well that night. I don't know that any team in the country could have gotten out of there without a loss. So, although it was disappointing, they had a 19-game winning streak, which is a school record coming to an end. I mean, that's nothing to cry over. Then they go to LSU and really should have closed that one out. There were some controversial calls and some controversy since, as you probably know. But with the official and the Twitter picture of him with a Go Tigers shirt, I think the league is dealing with that. And so, it's they haven't been quite as sharp, I don't think. Like I said, I don't know if anybody could have won it rough that night. They really kind of blew the LSU game. I mean, Tremont Waters was out of plays that could have gotten them out of there in regulation with a win. I mean, not to bore you with details, but they had a chance there was a flagrant one on Grant Williams. He misses 2 free throws. They still get the ball back, and they promptly turn it over. Jordan Bone, I think at the end of regulation has a chance to drive it to the hole and win, but he stops to pull up and slip at the end of the first overtime. There's 4.6 seconds to go, and Lamonte Turner stops and pulls up for a 3. Film later shows that he had a driving lane, and he also had Adel open in the right corner, so that was a mistake. Jordan Bone, who knows better, grabbed a player at half court that was streaking for a layup, and that's a flagrant one. Stuff like that's atypical of a junior and senior dominated starting lineup. And my wife, who doesn't know a thing about basketball, has sort of gotten into when I don't watch games on TV, and we've seen a lot of Tennessee games, and she said they look tired. And she doesn't know anything about ball, but she could see that. And it's a long season, and I think that coaches say, you're going to play 10 games over your head, 10 games about what you should, and 10 games below over the course of the season, your ability. And it's how you manage those 10 games below your ability that really makes or breaks your season. And, Tennessee's only lost 3 times, and 2 of those have been overtime, and they should have won both of those. So I still think they're a good team. I still think they're in great shape, but if they're going to close this thing out right, they've got to go back to what they were doing, early in the SEC season, even midway through the SEC season.
Ole Miss, on the other hand, Chris, has won, I guess, 5 out of its last 6. They've kind of gone from they had a kind of a malaise in the middle of the year where they lost some tight games and didn't play well in Tuscaloosa at all. LSU popped them. Iowa State popped them. Probably should have won at Florida. Maybe should have beaten Mississippi State at home. But anyway, they rebounded from that. They've won some games. They lost at South Carolina last week. But for the most part, they've taken care of business. Is there a scenario, or paint me a scenario, where Ole Miss is in position to beat Tennessee late?
Well, the biggest thing that I would be afraid of if I were Tennessee, and I guarantee you, not just because he's leading them in scoring, but Tyree is number 1 on their worry list, even above Terrence Davis, because they have been having trouble containing guards who are, straight line drivers. I mean, Javonte Smart at LSU just torched them at will whenever he felt like it, and that really cost, among other things. But that, if they could have made one stop on that kid, they win that game, So they have been susceptible to being guards who are quick and being unable to keep those guys in front of them. The other thing that's been kind of puzzling is that they've spaced themselves out on the defensive end, and their bigs haven't stepped up to to help. And part of that, and I was watching Kyle Alexander in particular in the LSU game, part of it might have been because he was afraid it was too late and he'd be in the restricted area and get called for a charge. Part of it is he's been getting some I don't know, I guess I'd call them questionable touch fouls early in games, and his confidence on the defensive end is shot a little bit. But their bigs need to help. And, you know, that LSU game was just a perfect storm of really controlling that game most of the way and then just frittering it away, making dumb mistakes that are atypical of the kind of team they are. So they're going to be really worried about Tyree and Davis, even Schuler. The other thing that teams have been doing against him, Neil, is, and a lot of these teams are outmatched, you know, from a talent standpoint, but have been jacking it up from three with great success. They have not defended the three well at all. I mean, in SEC games only this year at home, they're allowing teams to shoot 39% from three. That's like target practice. That's like, you know, shooting drills. You've got to get a hand in face. And they've also uncannily fouled three-point shooters in the act more than a veteran team should. So they've got to tighten up their defense, I think. And you know, Ole Miss has been as good as its three guards this year, I think, for the most part. And I think some freshmen have made some contributions too. But you look at those three guards, and those are a major concern for Tennessee.
This is that time of the year that people like me ask people like you who aren't on the committee but know basketball as well as anybody, who's getting in, who's not getting in. When you look at Ole Miss's resume, they've got 4 games left: Tennessee, at Arkansas, Kentucky at home, at Missouri. They're 9-5 in the league right now. I think they're 19-8 overall. Their net is 37, 38, somewhere in there right now. When you look at what's left, what, in your opinion, does Ole Miss have to do to get in?
Well, you know, I think if they could finish 10-8, they're in. I really do. I mean, I know that would be a 1-3 finish, but I think that they've played a good enough schedule. People don't understand if you're not, you know, if you don't study it, but you know, the win at Baylor was a gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati, not that bad a loss, but a good game to play. Going up to Illinois State and winning was huge. I mean, a lot of power conferences won't go play a game like that. And, you know, I know that was set up by Coach Kennedy, but still, Ole Miss went up there under Kermit and took care of business, won that game. And that was the team we picked to finish to win the Missouri Valley, which is a tough little league. So, you know, they were 10-3 in non-conference, and you refer to that little swoon that they had and the 4-game losing streak midway through conference play. But they've righted the ship and done what they've had to do. They've swept Auburn, which I think is good. I tend to think Auburn's got some internal strife. And is not the team that maybe many thought they were, but still, it's huge to sweep them, especially going down there a couple of weeks ago and winning. So I think this is a tournament team. I think a lot would have to happen really badly for them not to get in. I think Kermit's done one of his best coaching jobs, and you know, he might tell you that even though this isn't a team that has, you know, maybe top 4 talent in the SEC, it's probably every bit the equal of his best teams at middle, which he was able to do a lot with, as you know. I mean, they were able to beat a number 2 seed Michigan State in the NCAAs, and the next year turn right around and beat Minnesota, which I think was a 5 seed maybe.
Yeah, I think they were a 4, maybe a 5. You know, yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and you know, but that was with talent that I think Coach Davis would probably tell you that this that this Ole Miss team either has as good as or than that. So I think that when it all comes down to it, when it's all said and done, I've had a lot of friends that have been on the committee over the years, and one of them, Les Robinson, who used to coach at the Citadel, ETSU, and NC State, just a super guy. I've learned a lot of basketball from him, and he said basically it's like you go around the room when it's all said and done and the analyzed and everything else, and you say, who as a coach would you least like to play? And then that's usually, to me, and from what I've been, okay, that's now we're going past all these analytics and the new age stuff, and we're going to just basketball. And I don't think Ole Miss is a team that anybody would want to play because, the way they change defenses, the way they get after you, and then, again, 3 guards. If you've got 3 guards of that caliber, you've always got a chance to win in any game you play.
Let's take a break in our talk with Chris. Tell you about Mastercuts, mastercutslawn.com, 662-607-7773, info@gomastercuts.com. Everything from your basic maintenance to your flower beds to you want to plant some trees, whatever you'd like to do, Mastercuts will help you out. They'll build some decks, custom playgrounds, and more. They're fully suited for everything that I have had them do in the last couple of years, and they can help you out too. Again, 662-607-7773. And as always, we appreciate you telling me you heard about it at rebelgrove.com.
I'll be posting my mailbag at some time tomorrow. I just forgot to turn my mic back on. Crazy. It's brought to you by the Westin Jackson. You can restore serenity to your soul, which is something I probably need to do, by visiting Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. Indulge in personalized massages, signature facials, soothing body treatments, and much more on their extensive spa list. Escape from the everyday and rejuvenate yourself in their luxury spa today. And then head over to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro right there in the Westin Jackson. Sip on a creative craft cocktail. Enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships. So gather at Estelle tonight. This podcast is also sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is based in Madison, Mississippi. It represents clients in 24 states, has advisors in 3 states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan. Cookie-cutter financial planners put you in a box. Pinnacle Trust builds a box just for you. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee.
Now back to Chris Dortch on the Oxford Exxon podcast.
I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. I was talking to Scotty Thurman last night for a few minutes, and we were just talking about the league. They had just landed in Lexington, and obviously that team has really hit the skids. And we were just talking about how this year, more than any year that he can remember, there's just no bad team. And I know that sounds crazy because Vanderbilt is 0-14 in the league, and Georgia's 1-13 in the league. And you look at those teams from a record standpoint, and you go, they suck. And then you watch them, and look, they're not great by any stretch of the imagination. I'm never going to be that guy. But, Chris, I watched Georgia in person on Saturday. Georgia does not suck. The league's just deep.
No, I mean, it belies their record. I mean, Vanderbilt does not suck. I mean, they've got talent that, 90% of the coaches in America would trade hands down right away, but of course, if it were teams from the Southern Conference, and that talent would dominate. It's just that they're in the SEC, and they had a tough break. That when you lose a 5-star point guard who, and Bryce Drew isn't a guy that's given the overstatement by any means. In fact, he's a modest sort, but he thought that Darius Garland was in for a season like Trae Young had at Oklahoma. And, the press asked him about that. You do realize he led the nation in scoring and assists, right? And Bryce shook his head, yeah, I know. And, that kid goes down after 5 games. So, they're just in a state of flux. And it's just been a disaster. Georgia, I talked to Tom Crean in the summer, and he knew that they didn't have the kind of talent for the kind of offense he wants to run. He wants to run, first of all, but when they can't do that, he wants to run a Princeton offense, and he didn't think he had enough shooting to really incorporate that. And I think he got frustrated a couple of games ago and alluded to maybe having run off some guys, and that wasn't the smartest thing he could have done. He knows better than that. The league top to bottom is strong. Arkansas's got Daniel Gafford. He's a first-round NBA draft pick. They have and got some good young shooters. They have underperformed relative to, I think, what people might have thought. So somebody's got to lose the games, and somebody's got to win them. And, Tennessee, LSU, and Kentucky have snapped up a lot of W's, and Ole Miss has hung in there too.
What's your feeling? 7 bids? Is there even an outside chance at 8?
Lenardi still thinks 8. He really does. I don't think he's discounted South Carolina. And I heard him talking about this last night. He was on my radio show last week, but I heard him talking about it last night to ESPN announcers that, the bubble's weak, and it has been weak. And even though he doesn't philosophically agree with a team that has a losing conference record getting in, and he's got proof that good mid-majors always at-large teams have outperformed power conference schools with losing records in the NCAA tournament. He's got some rather compelling numbers for that. I don't know them off the top of my head, but if he says it, I believe him. But yet, South Carolina's in the picture. Alabama tried to play its way out and might have, but I don't think they're out of it yet either. So, you're looking at a possibility to have 8. Joe's got 8 in there right now. And so I think that could come to pass. A lot of it, these last 4 games are key because, again, somebody has to lose. The league's going to cannibalize itself a little bit. Some bubble teams are anxious. It so happens that Tennessee, they have to finish out against Kentucky and 3 of those bubble teams. So it's going to be a rough road for the Vols. They've got to go to Ole Miss. They've got to go to Auburn. They play Mississippi State at home and Kentucky at home. So, that could be the toughest last 4 games of anybody in the league. And maybe Tennessee will be revealed. Maybe they were the beneficiary of maybe an easier start and playing Vandy twice without, Darius Garland and playing an injury-riddled Florida team twice already. They have beaten South Carolina twice, which is impressive. But, so we'll see what the real Tennessee team is made of. But in answer to your question, I think 7 at the very least, which is a banner year, but an outside chance for 8.
Yeah, and 13 teams are going to lose games in Nashville in a couple weeks. I never know what the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I never know what the tournament means or doesn't mean because I have to think that the committee has the lion's share of its work done going into those final few days. But those are games where bubble teams could be playing bubble teams on a neutral court, where someone's going to get a quadrant 1 win.
I can assure you, having worked with Joe Lenardi having been in a car with him as we invented bracketology, him more than me, but we decided that we needed a way to predict who was going to get in the tournament. We could put out a ribbon. College Basketball Yearbook at that time did a tournament edition, and if you didn't know who those teams were, and if you didn't write that stuff days in advance and get it edited and ready to go and to your designer, you could not get out that product that we put out. It was unbelievable. That's how I became friends with Jay Billis. I never knew him, met him at a regional in Winston-Salem, handed him one of those, and we've been buddies ever since, even though we haven't been doing it for 5 years. But, yeah, my point of all that is that, yeah, the committee knows. I'm not so sure that, you know, the teams that they're going to place high on the seed lines aren't already there. But I think teams that are trying to play their way in, and like you said, can get a quad one win, I think those are factors. And, you know, those teams that have to start, one of those bubble teams, I don't know, may have to play on Wednesday. Most of them will play on Thursday, all of them. So they're going to get opportunities. And so, and then there's always the outside chance. We've seen it happen before. Arkansas did it not that long ago. You could win 4 games in 4 days, and Ole Miss did it in Nashville, right?
Yeah.
So when Marshall Henderson was there.
2013.
So,
yeah.
You know, you can play your way in that way, the old-fashioned way. So, you know, I still like the conference tournaments. I think they're great entertainment, but I think you're right. I think the upper level teams are probably already, their fate is probably already pretty much, if not written in ink, in pencil in that bracket, and then there are teams that they get to try to play their way in.
Last thing, and then I'll let you go. I really appreciate your time. If the basketball gods came down and told you, Chris Dortch, that one of the SEC teams, probably in this case Kentucky, Tennessee, or LSU, was playing on that final Monday night, which one would you assume they were referring to?
Oh, that's a great question. I think right now, I think Kentucky's playing as well as most teams in the country. It took that controversial non-goaltending call against LSU, or they'd be on a 12 or 13 game winning streak. So right now, I'd probably say Kentucky. But I think Tennessee, if they can shore up these little issues, they're still a very good basketball team. And I think Rick Barnes' challenge right now is to just not let them get down on themselves. And they'll find out what they're made of tomorrow night at Ole Miss. They really will, because they're going to get a game down there, and they're going to have to struggle to win. But they're also motivated by, you know, a poor performance on the road in Kentucky, and really frittering one away at LSU. There's no way they should have, even with discounting the officials, and I won't get into all that. Obviously, some officiating and things to do with officials that have gotten the SEC involved and concerned.
Yeah, it's a bad look.
But they're going to be angry. Yeah, it's a bad look. And you know, that particular referee blew his whistle 44 times, and his 2 other partners blew it 41 times combined. So stuff like that, it makes you wonder. You know, but they're going to be angry, and if they play angry, it'll be a good basketball game, because I know Kermit demands toughness from his team. So we're going to see a battle if Tennessee has learned from their mistakes. I mean, even a veteran team like that can sometimes be guilty of you know, one man trying to do everything and collectively forgetting about what got you there, running your offense, playing great defense, playing great help defense. And, you know, they sort of went away from that the other day. And so that's the best teaching tool as an L, let me tell you. And so I think Tennessee will be there. LSU's awful young. I would think they would be the least team I could see getting all the way to the Final Four, but who knows? If the brackets are right, they've got talent, and God knows they've got good guards. I mean, Javonte Smart would be starting on 350 other teams in the country probably, but he plays behind Tremont Waters. So, but he had to start against Tennessee when Waters was sick, and he scores 29 points. So they're a talented team too.
Chris, thanks so much for the time, man. Really appreciate it. Hope to talk to you soon.
Sounds good, buddy. Thanks.
Thanks to Chris. Always great basketball stuff from him. The podcast brought to you in part by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. They're getting local underwriting that understands your market. A leader in condo financing in Oxford, and the float down option allows you to lock in the current rate, but if rates go down before you close, you get the lower rate. 662-234-2704 or JLOWE@communitymtg.com.
Chris Dortch and all other guests join us on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law, specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, but theirs is a general practice that can handle any of your legal needs. When you contact Patterson and Earhart, you speak to one of the partners in the firm, and that's who handles your case, not some paralegal at a faceless corporate firm. If Patterson and Earhart can't help you, they'll refer you to someone who can. John Calvin Patterson and Wes Earhart are Ole Miss guys. They're local guys. And when you call them, you're going to get one of them on the phone within the same day, guaranteed. So whether you've been injured in a car wreck or have other legal issues, give them a call, 662-526-1992, or check out their website, pelaws.com. Your initial consultation is free. And don't forget, if you're coming to Oxford for hoops or baseball season, softball, coming up for double-decker, whatever the case may be, perfect place for you to stay is Home 2 Suites. It's conveniently located 1 mile from campus, just off the Old Taylor Road exit. Give them a call, 662-238-3400. Book it to be a perfect place to book your home base for the 2019 football season. It's an ideal location if you're coming to Oxford. Pet-friendly, lots of amenities, great breakfast every morning right there at Home 2 Suites. So check them out, 662-238-3400. And don't forget, warm weather's on the horizon, and with it comes the inevitable debate of sock or no sock with your loafers. So save your feet and your shoes from making their own impression and step into spring with some no-shows from Dead Soxy. You really need to experience the difference a quality sock makes. This is the first step in dressing for the job you want and not the job you have. So go to deadsoxy.com, enter the code REBELGROVE at checkout to receive 30% off all orders, including sale items. These no-shows are the same quality you already love and enjoy with their traditional dress socks. And again, they come with their no-slip guarantee. So go to deadsoxy.com. Check out their no-show collection, and remember to enter promo code REBELGROVE at checkout for 30% off all orders.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy there on South Lamar in Oxford. Deliver local to your home or workplace. They've got MedSync to get you everything synchronized to take at the right time every single day, and now they're offering CBD oil as well, pharmaceutical grade. That is approved by the FDA. That's not always the case with some of the online sites. Again, don't worry about it. It's hemp. There's no hallucinations or anything. It just has been shown to help certain patients with multiple different conditions such as depression, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and more. So you can find out more with G&M at 662-236-2222. A couple things. Let's see. Appreciate Chris as always. I'm going to forget this. This hit the message board yesterday, so it's probably in a lot of other places too. And I'm really not talking down. There's probably some people that don't realize this, and I do have a little bit of background knowledge. The golf team's hats yesterday, they are not like Ole Miss putting the shark on everything imaginable. They were simply made for the golf team. It is a hat that has a cartoon caricature of a shark swinging a golf club. There are many golf teams around the country that have stylized caricatures of their mascot swinging golf clubs. That's all this is. It is not some licensing overtaking of the Ole Miss script or anything. It's just a shark on a hat that the golf team is wearing. So calm down if you're worried this is a slippery slope step in a direction. It's not. I understand exactly how this started and how we got here. That's all it is.
Have you heard that the basketball team's jerseys tomorrow night will say sharks across the front?
You hear that?
I've heard it's kind of going with an aqua sort of a color.
I've seen a powder blue that's a little aqua.
Well, there you go. And it says Sharks across the front. And all it's got on the short is the script M.
The script M.
Just the M.
Okay.
What I heard.
You heard that?
Had a source.
Okay. You know, the golf team wears those script M hats, too.
I know. Just telling you.
Yeah.
Once you start slipping down that slope, there's no stopping it.
They wore them yesterday. They were in a match play event against South Florida. I'm assuming in Tampa yesterday. They did win, and the hats started getting a little bit of talk around the water cooler.
I wonder how that would look on a helmet.
A shark?
A shark.
Well, it couldn't be the shark swinging the golf.
No, but he could be carrying a football. Just thinking out loud.
Are you?
Kicking a football?
Do you really want to show that you're settling for field goals on the mascot?
Well, then have him crossing the goal line.
Or kicking off a tee, meaning he just scored.
Meaning he just scored.
Okay.
Or you could have him punting, which would be his way of saying, we're so confident in the Land Shark defense that we just want to punt.
Like in the 50s when they just punt on third down?
Hell yeah.
They didn't have analytics guys quite as well back then, did they?
No,
the sabermetrics wasn't as advanced at that point.
I'm going to guess Bill James wasn't quite breaking it down for them at that point.
Anyway, that was it. Just a little public service announcement there for everybody that might have been having a little bit of a coronary this morning. Trying to help you out.
The Sharks jerseys. They'll be on sale Thursday is what I've been told.
Okay. I don't even think that freaking hat's for sale anywhere that I'm aware of. Sorry. Alabama at South Carolina tonight. Big game for both teams potentially. Would be good be huge for Alabama. South Carolina has to have every game they can get at this point.
They probably have to win out.
Yeah. They are a 2-point favorite tonight at home against Alabama, if you're curious. Missouri is at Mississippi State tonight. Game State has to have. They need that one over the Tigers. They are favored by 11 tonight, if you're curious, in Starkville.
Yep.
Let's see. Going down the list a little bit.
Arkansas's at Kentucky.
They are. You want to guess that line?
I'm going to guess Kentucky is a 15-point favorite.
Bump it on up, 16.5 tonight.
16.5.
It opened at 18. It's down to 16.5. Texas A&M is in Baton Rouge tonight.
Ooh, and I'm going to tell you now.
Tigers.
I'm going to tell you, LSU's got let down waiting all on them, and the Aggies are playing well.
So you like the Aggies to cover?
I'm going to guess the line is about 11.5.
On the dot, Mr. McCready, 11.5.
Ooh, all right, now look, people, if you do this and you lose, it's on you.
They like you when you do this. You're jumping in a pool here.
I kind of like A&M plus 11.5.
Now you don't like them to win.
Oh,
so you don't want to jump
no.
off some money line.
But if you told me A&M lost this game by 8 points and LSU wasn't exactly dialed in, A&M's really played well lately.
I can get you, if you think they even have a shot to win the game, I can get you a 6-1 money line.
Yeah, I don't like their chances of winning the game. I do like their chances of covering 11.5.
Well, you can get it at 11.5 at minus 105, even money.
I kind of like 11.5. Yeah. I wouldn't want to lay those much of it. They've really played well lately.
Water's back tonight, I assume?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, if you're Will Wade, you don't play Tremont Waters until he's 100% right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to the tournament. I know everybody wants to win the conference championship, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But I will say what I said about baseball season. It was funny. Not funny. It wasn't funny. God, it was not funny because we lost money. We were going to sell some stuff. It's amazing how quickly people forgot about winning Hoover.
Yeah, that team won the West and the SEC tournament.
Yeah, I was there. I covered it.
Their rings have two things on them.
It was amazing how quickly people forgot or stopped caring that they won the conference. If you're Will Wade, if it means you're the 3 seed in Nashville, who gives up?
Yeah.
I want him healthy because I want to get to that second weekend and make somebody have to beat me healthy. I'm not about to play him tonight if he's 80%. And then he injures himself, and now he can't go in the tournament.
And I'm done.
And then I'm done. No. I don't give a. In fact, I'll go this far. If I'm Tennessee, Kentucky, or LSU. I don't give a damn about winning the SEC. I mean, it's great if I get it. Cool, awesome. We'll put it on the billboard. I'm worried about being 100% ready for the tournament. In fact, this is one of those years, we say this all the time, but this is one of those years, especially a team like LSU, they get to Nashville. I don't know that I want to be there on Sunday.
Yeah, because you're not a 1, so just get out of there.
I kind of want to get out of there.
Keep some legs about me.
I don't want to play 3 games in 3 days. Why?
Win Friday, and if Kentucky beats you on Saturday, so be it.
Get the hell out of there. Let's go home. Rest. Because here's the deal. You know you're going to play on Thursday or Friday the next week. And those games matter so much more than the ones in Nashville. And I trust me, Mike Bianco, I'm guessing Mike might disagree. You would know Mike better than me. If the baseball gods came down and said, got a deal for you. Remember how you guys came back after that weird Georgia game and won? When Georgia, we're going to make that a loss. You're going to get 0-2 and eliminated from Hoover on Thursday morning. But in exchange for that, remember that first game against Tennessee Tech on that Monday? Mike's going to say, oh, yeah, I remember that. Well, you're going to win that one. Now, that's all we're going to promise you. Take your shot at home against Texas the next week. But now we got to take that trophy home, back to the baseball god land.
We'll send it to you and pay the shipping.
Oh, I think Mike would go personally wrap it right there, polish it up, and hand it to them.
Yeah.
To make the regional a win?
Yeah.
That's my point on the whole thing. If you're a team that is punched your ticket, you got to be careful in those conference tournaments.
Tomorrow night, maybe an interesting night in the SEC. Honestly, you got Ole Miss taking their free shot against Tennessee, as we know by now. We don't have a line yet. We'll get that later today.
What's your guess on the line?
Tennessee -5.
I was going to say 6.5. So we're in the same ballpark.
The other 2 games tomorrow night, 2 road teams that have to win. Bottom line, have to win in the SEC tomorrow night. You have Auburn at Georgia tomorrow night, and then you have Florida at Vanderbilt tomorrow night. So 2 SEC teams that have to win, no matter what.
Scotty Thurman and I were talking last night, and I don't think he minds me saying this. He said Vanderbilt's going to get somebody.
Well, they're probably not going 0-18.
Because they haven't quit. They keep playing hard. They're in games. Scared Auburn, scared Alabama.
Not just Vanderbilt's record, but overall, Garland's injury has changed the entire conference.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden, every other team has another loss somewhere or whatever. It's Vanderbilt sucking has helped the SEC get in a position to get 8 bids.
I talked to an SEC coach the other day who I know actively on a staff, not at Ole Miss, who said he thinks Vanderbilt's 8-6 in the league today if Garland's healthy.
8-6. Okay.
They're 0-14.
Yeah.
Thinks they're 8-6. He goes, you can
bubbly.
He goes, you can go back and look at their games. Give them that guy, point guard. They win some of those games. I said, how many? He goes, about 8.
We'll obviously talk about this on Friday, but looking ahead to Saturday, a couple interesting things. You got Kentucky and Tennessee's rematch at Thompson Bowling at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Again, you're catching Tennessee in a perfect time if you can catch them in a perfect time.
Oh, there's
you're catching Kentucky at a good time.
There's no doubt.
You're in a good spot here if you're Ole Miss from a scheduling standpoint when you're getting these guys. Also on Saturday, the game I'm most interested in.
I'll throw you another one about Kentucky.
Yeah.
They haven't had a bad loss in a while.
Since the Duke game, they have 3 losses all in basically the final minute where they played well.
Right. They haven't had a lay down, we didn't play well, we didn't show up, we took somebody for granted loss. If the basketball gods came down and offered one of those up to John Calipari to make sure that he had their attention, he'd take it.
Yeah. He typically gets one of those late.
He loves those because he gets to go yell at his kids on Wednesday and he has their attention, or Thursday.
Yeah.
And he'd probably rather do it here in the last 2 weeks of the season than he would in Nashville, where that's what's fresh. There's pressure on Calipari in Nashville to stay in the tournament because if Kentucky falls out of the tournament, the attendance drops in half.
Right. Barring some weird thing on Saturday, there are a couple games I'm interested in. LSU goes to Alabama on Saturday. Sort of a little interested in that game.
Yeah.
And then the two that really have my attention, Ole Miss at Arkansas, because Ole Miss needs it, frankly. And then State at Auburn on Saturday.
Ooh.
Interesting game Saturday. The Bulldogs and the Tigers. I like
Auburn's got Georgia tomorrow?
what did I just say?
I think you said Auburn's at Georgia.
I did. Yeah, Auburn at Georgia tomorrow.
Man, Auburn's got a weird week.
Ole Miss needs the Tigers to win games.
Auburn's got a weird week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I'm going to tell you guys out there in podcast land,
You need to be cheering for your blue and orange.
you should put blue and orange on tomorrow night. You don't want them dropping a game to Georgia at 120 in the net.
Everything we talked about with when State got the break against Georgia, good for the Rebels when that happened.
Yeah,
With the technical foul.
You need to be singing that War Eagle song.
Body get a body get a body get a bye.
Yeah. War Eagle, fly down the field, ever to conquer, never to yield, that song. You need to learn that one and be singing it because I know that your temptation is to cheer against Auburn. You don't need Auburn to lose that game. And Auburn is perfectly capable of losing that game because I'm telling you, I've watched Georgia by accident a little bit the last 2 weeks, and then I watched them live on Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Georgia's perfectly capable of beating Auburn on Wednesday night. Perfectly capable. Like, has a real shot. Their guards are playing better, and Claxton is a handful. And I love Rayshawn Hammonds.
Mentioned fight songs. Tulane they didn't get away from it. They do not do the hullabaloo as often anymore. I did not get just inundated with hullabaloo over the weekend. Usually it's every time they get a freaking hit.
Yeah, that's obnoxious.
Because it's a long fight song.
Yeah, and over 5 hours,
Yeah,
that'll wear you out.
Yeah, they've cut back. It was really only on about half the scoring plays that I noticed on the week. Now, Saturday was 13-12 or whatever it was. So if you're doing it every time somebody got a hit, you'd just be hullabalooing all day. But
speaking of length of games, this is staying kind of on topic but moving around. We've gone this far. If you're still listening to us, God bless you. Mm-hmm. Major League Baseball is implementing in spring that 20-second pitch count.
All right.
They asked John Lester.
College has had.
They asked John Lester about it yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah, whatever makes you happy." And they asked him about it, followed up, and he goes, "Look, I'm going to do what I do." The thought that crossed my mind was, "Oh my God, some poor umpire has to stare at a clock when John Lester takes the field in Arlington to pitch opening day." And when John Lester takes 22 seconds to deliver a pitch, he's supposed to go, "That's a ball." He's not going to do it.
Well, this thing has been in college for a while. Here's what it does.
Okay.
I have a lot of experience with pitch clocks. Because the SEC was even the guinea pig to start this a year or two before everybody else picked it up.
Okay.
I'm not even 100% sure everybody still picked it up. I don't know. I feel like I've been to some road arenas or road stadiums that haven't had a clock on the wall.
Yeah.
Maybe the umpire has a stopwatch. I don't know. Anyway, here's the deal.
I can tell you he doesn't.
Number one, it's never been called. Not once in 10 years or however long it's been.
And I don't blame the umpire either.
Here is the two things that it kind of does, in my opinion.
Okay.
It also times in between innings. So it does speed up a little bit in between innings.
Well,
I noticed that the umpire will, hey, let's go. That's it. Yeah,
let's
move it on. In two, and this is vague and it's not enough to make a difference. I do think the presence of the clock subconsciously makes some guys work a touch faster.
I would buy
Even
that.
though it's not being called,
I would buy that.
Gets them moving a little bit. But no one is calling a ball.
No one is going to say, "Hey, John."
I'm a little surprised there hadn't been a hero at some point to just for the heck of it. But
Can you imagine? You've got Dave Van Horn or Paul Maneri or Mike Bianco or somebody coming out screaming at the top of their lungs at you because you enforced that silly rule. It's not worth the trouble. No. You got enough trouble back there.
Did you see the 538 article on the foul balls? Did you see this?
Yes.
Really, really interesting. So I don't remember what the time frame was. I'm sorry. Let's say 20 years for the heck of it.
That's roughly right.
Major League Baseball, compared to 20 years ago, has 14,000 more foul balls over the course of a season, and the argument was that's actually what's hurt game times increasing more than anything else. Now, I did not actually read the whole story, so maybe I'm missing something here.
Well, you are leaving out one key element.
Okay, go ahead.
As the stadiums are either being renovated or built, they're being built with the playing surface closer to the fans.
Yeah, that's where I was going. It's a fan amenity thing where they want the fans closer to the action.
Sure, more premium seats.
Well,
Jace.
in doing that, they're taking foul territory out,
Sure.
so everything gets in the stands.
You don't see the ballparks like in the old days where a guy hits a ball.
Just mountains.
You just run forever, and it's a foul out.
Yeah.
Well, now I mean, you don't.
Even so at the college level, Ole Miss is trimming backstops and stuff.
Well, premium seats.
A lot of foul ground would lead to more outs.
Sure.
Now it's not going to change.
Well, no. I mean, when I go to a game, like Carson gets to pick where we go every year.
Yeah.
He wants to go to Denver. Wants to see Coors.
Mm-hmm.
Wants to see the mountains, all that stuff. I've never been to Coors. So if I go to Coors, where do I want to sit? I kind of want to sit close.
Yeah.
I want to at least once sit close. Like when we were in Cincinnati, got tickets for cheap and sat really close. It was awesome.
Maybe I'll just go to slow pitch softball and make the third pitch foul and out.
I mean, you do see those at-bats, and they get celebrated where it's 20 foul balls or whatever. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but it happens.
It was a kid from, all over the place, and we'll kind of end here probably. The number 2 hitter for Wright State on Friday, Will Etheridge, had a 29-pitch first inning. Now, 10 of those pitches were because he picked the ball up and didn't make a play. But this number 2 guy, I think it was about a 13-pitch bat, just kept fouling it off and kept fouling it off and kept fouling it off. And now I could go into a big nuance on kind of what that means for the Ole Miss staff, but I'm not doing that right now, an hour and 28 minutes into the podcast. But nonetheless, you're seeing that more and more and more, and it's because, too, you're not out. If you hit any kind of foul ball, it's just a foul ball.
Yeah.
There's no way to get the cheap out anymore, even in college baseball for most parks.
And that's celebrated because, hey, you wore a pitcher out. You took an inning away.
Yeah. So
it's one of the reasons it's one of the fascinating strategies of baseball, the whole 0-2, what do you do with 0-2? What do you do at 1-2? You have old school versus new school says go after them. Get them out. Be efficient with your pitch. Old school says, hey, you give up an 0-2 hit, it better have been one hell of a piece of hitting.
That's one of my criticisms of Ole Miss over the years is I think they nibble too much 0-2, 1-2. A lot of pitches that I get the smart 0-2, but so far out, nobody's even getting close to waving at it. I mean, you throw that slider that starts 6 out and then breaks away.
I don't.
Nobody's
I don't like that. I think you're just giving a pitch away.
Yeah. Suddenly it's 2-2, and now we got to make a pitch.
Now you got to make a pitch, and the hitter's back in a comfort zone.
Yeah.
No, and I hate the 1-2 nibbling. That's to me 1-2. You are at max advantage. That needs to be where you go get him because he's protecting and guessing, and you go after him at that point.
Appreciate Chris Dortch for his time today. Back tomorrow with another show, plenty at rebelgrove.com and plenty on the football team as the day progresses. Matt Luke at 11 a.m. Talk to you tomorrow.